Lisa here, welcome back to my channel. I'm having a very discombobulated weekend because this is my weekly deck review, by the way. You probably can tell that by the description of the video, but I'm having a really weird weekend because I've hosted 3 live chats over the past 3 days, but the last 2 days, the live chats I hosted, I've like forgotten what time it was supposed to be. So I'm a little off kilter. Also, today is Sunday, and normally I do this video on Saturday. Well, I film it Friday, upload it on Saturday, but because it was a 3-day weekend for me, everything was all kind of like out of sorts. I'm sure some of you can relate because I know a lot of people are actually working from home or are off work right now because the world is crazy, and I'm sure it can be difficult to keep track of what day it was, but apparently I can't even do it for 3 days in a row. So I feel for all of you who are having to deal with that right now. But anyway, I am here to talk about the decks that I worked with over the past week and share with you what I'm going to be working with this coming week, and have already technically started working with because I'm behind on this video. But yeah, that's what we're going to do here today. So the tarot deck I have actually been working with over the past week is the gorgeous out-of-print Glastonbury Tarot. This deck is by Lisa Tenzin Dolma. This is what the guidebook looks like. So I managed to score a copy of this deck at Northwest Tarot Symposium. There was a copy for sale at one of the vendors that was very gently used, if used at all. I found this deck to be really nice to work with this week. I think that what's really lovely about it is that there is a lot of the Arthurian legends are woven through the deck, which is something that I really enjoy. I enjoy that there are landscape cards that are tied into the landscape of Glastonbury. As some of you know, I spent some time in the Sisterhood of Avalon, which works very closely with the landscape of Glastonbury and a lot of the Welsh deities. So I really enjoyed working with this deck. I remember a lot of the stories from my time working with and studying the Mabinogion, and I just really enjoyed working with this deck. I will say that the art itself is not necessarily my favorite style of art ever, but I didn't get this deck for that. I got this deck because it ties into some mythology and some landscape that's really sacred to me. So I really enjoyed working with it. I won't say it's the most mind-blowing deck I've ever worked with, and I would like to spend some more time with it, but considering that I have another deck in my collection that I've considered rehoming for a long time, which is Legend the Arthurian Tarot, I do enjoy this deck's approach and artwork better than I enjoyed it in that deck. So for me, this is a better fit. So I'm very pleased to have it. I don't have a proper bag for it yet because I have to raid Peggy's stash or make my own, heaven forbid. So for now, it's just living in this wrap bag. Now this little wrap bag that Peggy made me a while back actually housed both the tarot deck and the oracle deck that I was working with this week. I just kept them in it together, but it'll work right now to keep these cards safe because the box they came in, not good. Not a good box. Actually, I might keep these cards in another old Peggy bag here. Hold on. I've also got this like holographic bag from one of the first bags Peggy ever made. I think I'm gonna keep it in there for now. But I did really enjoy working with it. I don't think it's something that everybody is going to like fall in love with who sees it. I think it's the kind of deck that if you're really called to work with Arthurian legend, with Glastonbury landscape, or are called to this particular approach to the tarot, I think you'd really like it. But it is out of print, it is hard to find, so I don't think it's something, okay, let's put it this way. I spent more on this deck than I would spend for something usually. Not by a lot more, like by an extra $30, $40, which still felt like a lot. I would not pay $200 or $300 for this deck, but to everybody their own, right? Like I just wanted to be clear that this is special to me because of a lot of the things this helps me connect to, but it's very specific. So keep that in mind. I do think it reads beautifully just as a standard tarot deck, but I think a lot of the charm for it is about the way it ties in with Arthurian legend and the way it ties in with Glastonbury landscape. So I really appreciated that about it. But if you're not into those things, I don't know that I would go hunting it down, if you know what I mean. The oracle deck that I worked with alongside it is new to me, and it is the Mists of Avalon Oracle. This is such a beautiful oracle deck, and I've really, really enjoyed working with it. I wish there were more cards. It's one of these kind of like smaller, how many cards are in here? Does it say? anywhere on the box. 36. So this feels a little skimpy to me, and I think it's because I've been spoiled by decks with a lot more cards. I love that there are 4 keywords on the card. I really appreciate that. I love this art style. It's really beautiful to me. Very vivid and bold colors. And there was nothing that I felt like was necessarily missing from the deck. So while I'm kind of complaining that there weren't enough cards, I also don't know that I can think of anything that should be added necessarily. So I really did enjoy working with this. Again, very tied into the Arthurian mythos, very tied into the landscape of Avalon / Glastonbury. And a lot of the deities from the Welsh pantheon, and a lot of overlap with the Mabinogi and that sort of thing. I just loved working with this. This was a lot of fun. I think this didn't pair aesthetically very well with the art style in the Glastonbury Tarot, like at all, but thematically it did, which was what I was expecting it to do. I got some really great card pulls from this deck. Again, I really enjoyed the artwork. I do think this is lovely. I think this is definitely not a deck I could see myself trimming. I do love the backings. Okay, if they weren't so reflective. Here we go. They've like got that like Triskelly on the back. But yeah, I really did enjoy working with this. Again, I don't think I encountered anything I wish was different. I did enjoy the guidebook. I thought the guidebook was well done. I don't know that I agree with every single thing it said, because I can be very particular about some of the Arthurian mythos, but also about the landscape of Glastonbury. I don't think it necessarily hit the nail on the head for every single card, but I thought that the way the guidebook was done was very consistent. It was really good. I thought the messages were helpful and useful. I like that there was a little affirmation at the end of each guidebook entry. And I love that you have a little mini thumbnail in full color, and I like the way that the pages are like this kind of creamy parchment color, like a little bit more cream colored than white colored. It was fun. It was fun to work with. And considering this is a mass market deck, and I think the quality is also really, really good. The nice guidebook, nice box, good artwork. I think if you're called to the theme of this deck, that you would probably really enjoy working with it. It's not something, again, that I think is particularly mind-blowing, and maybe that's just the space I'm in right now. I don't know, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed working with it with the Glastonbury Tarot, because the themes, of course, were similar, and so I could like play with that overlap, and that was really fun. So I do think that was kind of a fun pairing for sure. That said, I'm diving into something I think a little bit meatier in its way this week, and I'm really, really excited. So I am going to be diving into the Falarcos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti. Now, I've done some preparatory, why is that word so hard to say? Yeah. I've prepared. That's what I'm trying to say. So I have spent some time already with this deck. Obviously this is Sunday. I'm recording this on Sunday. I'm putting this up on Sunday. And I've already done a little bit of diving into this deck. I've watched a couple of interviews with Carmen. I watched an interview on Tarot Map, Kasia Tarot Map's channel, which if I remember, I will link in the description box down below. And I also watched an interview with, I'm not going to say her name right, Owa Wasima. I don't think I'm saying her name right. I will link that other interview also down in the description box below. Those were both really helpful to understand sort of where the creator's coming from with this deck. I knew I wanted to modify it as soon as I got it. Now I did get this deck in a trade, and it is still available through the Arnell Art site. I don't know if you can buy it elsewhere, but I do know Arnell Art is where you can buy this deck. So I did use these cards, these art cards that came with the title cards, to sample trim the deck. It did have borders originally. That's what the backings look like. So I did fully trim this deck, and I've edged it in like a rosy, well first I edged it in a rose red, and then it looked too magenta, so then I covered it up with a little bit more red. So it's got a pretty vivid edging done on it, but I really like how it turned out in the end. The way that I edge decks with markers, which I do sometimes do, these are art markers, so they're alcohol-based chisel tip markers, a lot like a Copic art marker, but a different cheapy brand that I think I found in Walmart or something. The one thing about those is they do tend to leave a bit of a micro border, so a lot of the cards you'll see have just a bit of that red around the fronts and on the backs. But I'm okay with that. I think the result is still really, really pretty. So this is what I'm going to be working with. Now I do have a bit, like I said, of a head start in the sense that I do understand that this deck is based kind of loosely on the dream world. The minor arcana are done in this sort of sketch style to represent more fleeting moments, things that are a little less hard to, woo, I'm throwing cards, to grab onto. And the majors are done in a more full painted style. The aces also are done in a full painted style but have been rendered in black and white. But yeah, this is the Full Arcos Tarot, and I'm really excited to dive into this deck. This has a very kind of deep feel to me just at first, like playing with it and looking at it and working with it very little bit so far. A very sort of Mary L vibe as far as like the artwork going kind of its own way, but also all the themes that you need to be there are definitely there. They're just a little bit more, I don't want to say spiritual because that's not, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but there's a little bit more sort of depth built into this deck. So yeah, I trimmed all the borders off, I've edged it. I'm really looking forward to playing with it this week. I'll definitely let you know how it works out for me. The guidebook that comes with it doesn't give you a ton. Carmen actually said that she wrote them almost like Zen koans, so something to kind of think about, meditate on, but not necessarily to give you like a meaning or something like that. Like the goal of this deck was definitely to get you slightly away from those rote or memorized meanings and to sort of think about the cards maybe a little differently. So I'm excited to see how this works out for me. I haven't done any major pulls or spreads with it or anything like that. I've just modified it so far, so I will keep you guys posted. That is the Full Arcos Tarot. I feel like I'm speeding through this video. Sorry if it's a little zippy. I'm in a zippy space. I just hosted a live chat on spirit guides, and we ended up talking about spirit guides and deity and going to the astral and building an astral temple and all kinds of amazing things. So if you want to check that live chat out, it is on my channel. It's called Meeting and Building a Relationship with Your Spirit Guides, I believe. I will link it in the cards or up in or down in the description box or something. But if I forget, it's on my channel. It's recent. Take a look and check it out because we had some really good discussions, and it was like a 2-hour chat. I think Peggy's sharpening a knife, so if you're hearing like a weird sound, that's what's happening. She's about to make my dinner, so not gonna complain. Anyway, the Oracle deck I decided to pair with the Full Arcos Tarot this week, and it's an old favorite, not that old, but it's a favorite, and it's one I haven't worked with in a while, and it is the Illuminated Earth Tarot. I freaking love this deck. This is by Claire Mack, and she's a Seattle-based artist. I absolutely adore the deck. I find it to be incredibly intuitive, and I just felt like this artwork would go, I've also edged mine in blue. I feel like this artwork would go really well with the Full Arcos Tarot. I feel like it definitely still stays in a bit of that dreamy, ethereal place. And I think the color palette here will also look really nice next to the Full Arcos Tarot. So I find this to be a very earthy deck and a very expansive deck, and one of my favorite independent Oracle decks of all time. So I'm really excited to be playing with this. I think it's going to work well. I don't think my opinions of this deck will have changed very much, so I probably won't have a ton of new stuff to say about this deck this weekend, but I have talked about it a bunch on my channel in the past, and I think if you just search up Illuminated Earth Oracle on my channel, you'll come up with a couple videos where I've talked about it, but I will definitely still check in and let you guys know how it was to work with these two together. But these are what I'm going to be working with over the coming week. I'm super excited to hear what you guys have been working with, so let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you've worked with any of these decks, if you have any opinions on them, whether it's the Glastonbury Tarot, Mists of Avalon Oracle, the Full Arcos, or the Illuminated Earth Oracle. I'm super curious to hear your guys' feedback, as always, and I hope you have an amazing day. Remember that if you want to book a reading, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!